Okay, guys, so you've got a passage of analysis that I want you to look at on that first, on the front side of that resource. And what I want you to do here is use this as an example to identify the patterns in the sentence structures that embed these quotations into them. So what I'm going to do is present you with this analysis sentence by sentence, pinpoint the parts that I want you to try and annotate and pinpoint as either subject noun, verb phrase, object noun phrase. Those three things: the red, the green, and the purple in each of these sentences. And then what you'll see by the end of this passage of analysis is that the pattern repeats itself really consistently throughout analysis. So we've got this first sentence. It's analysis of that same quotation that we've been looking at in the fixes. The way that the speaker forcefully directs the reader to imagine the drip of water forces the reader into the position of the sufferers, relying upon their imagination rather than the reality of water. So, you can see in this example, the way that the speaker forcefully directs the reader to imagine the drip of water forces the reader into the position of the sufferers, relying upon their imagination rather than the reality of the water. You've got subject, verb, object before the quotations, but then verb, object, noun in the quotations themselves. So that pattern is repeated, green, purple, repeated through that particular part of the text. Then what you're looking at is this section. The poet uses onomatopoeic words to describe the drip and small splash of the droplets, which recreates the sounds of the imaginary water. So pause your video here, take a look at the underlined section, see if you can pinpoint which elements of the sentence are subject, which elements of the sentence are verbs, and then which elements of the sentence are object nouns. Pause here. Okay, so hopefully you can see the poet is the subject, uses onomatopoeic words to describe is the verb phrase. The drip and small splash of the droplets are all the objects of the sentence, the nouns. The next one. In addition, the assonance that the poet creates by describing the drip of it constructs the sounds of droplets falling, whilst the sibilance used to describe the small splash makes the water seem like a whisper. So you've got two here. You've got two complete subject, verb, object sections of these sentences. The assonance that the poet creates by describing the drip of it constructs the sound of droplets falling. There's repetitions there, so what you're looking for again. Subject nouns, verb phrases, object nouns in that first section. Then the second, the sibilance used to describe the small splash makes the water seem like a whisper. Again, subject nouns, verb phrases, and object nouns. Pause it and see if you can pick out those examples in those sentences. Okay, you can see here the assonance, the poet, the sibilance in each of those sentences. What you're using this tool for, remember, is to pinpoint which parts of these sentences the quotations that you're trying to embed are in terms of grammar. Are they likely to be basically object nouns or elements of a verb phrase? What you see in almost all cases, they are object nouns. Next one. Further to this, the way Darker isolates the word echo by using a line break between the word and the rest of the clause forces the reader to deeply consider the absence of water rather than its presence. So you're just looking here at the way Darker isolates the word echo by using a line break. So pause here, subject noun, subject noun, verb phrase, object. Easy. Darker, subject noun, isolates verb, the word echo, object phrase. Couple more. The imagery describes how the water creates an echo in a tin mug. Again, underlining, the minuscule amount that exists for those experiencing the drought. So look at that phrase again. The imagery describes how the water creates an echo in a tin mug. The imagery describes how the water creates an echo in a tin mug. So again, look, the embedded quotations are the object nouns in this sentence. Echo in a tin mug. They're noun phrases. Last one. Finally, she finishes this opening section emphasizing the absence of water by using a religious metaphor comparing the water to the voice of a kindly God. So you're just looking at that particular sentence. She finishes this opening section emphasizing the absence of water by using a religious metaphor comparing the water to the voice of a kindly God. Pause here. There's multiple examples of parts of this sentence here. But she finishes this opening is the subject. So you're looking there for verb phrases and object nouns. Here you see, she finishes this opening section emphasizing the absence of water by using a religious metaphor comparing the water to the voice of a kindly God. Here, the godly status of water underlines the intensity of the villagers' need for water, the way they deeply value it as a commodity, and their reliance upon God's protection to deliver them from suffering. So hopefully by looking through this passage, what you can see is the grammatical pattern in sentences that successfully embed quotations. They nearly always use the embedded quotations as the object noun phrase of a particular sentence within analysis. So you should at this point have a fully annotated passage on your resource.